Hello and welcome to Number Talk. Today we're looking at the expression 52 times 3, and we are going to use mental math. That means no paper, no pencil to solve this problem. We're going to see if there are many different ways that we can try to figure out what 52 times 3 is. So before we go any further, go ahead and take a moment to pause the video. Figure out what 52 times 3 is, but keep track of the strategy you used, because when you unpause it, we're going to look at many different strategies. We'll see if I can name the one that you used. So when we are looking at 52 times 3, one way that we can think about it is using the distributive property. So that lets us break apart numbers and multiply those smaller numbers to get partial product. So we're going to take our 52, and you notice we're going to keep that the same. But you know what? I want to take my 3 and I want to break it up into 2 plus 1. The reason I want to do that is because if I multiply by 2, because I'm going to take my 52 and distribute it out to both of those, well, that's just doubling. And doubling is easy. So I'm going to take my 52, double that. So that's going to be 104. Then I'm going to take my 52 and I just multiply that by 1, which is just 52. So you double it and then you add an extra 52 and you get your answer, 156. So hopefully that's what you got. Let's look at a different way to use the distributive property. We're going to take our 52 and instead of breaking up the 3, what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and break up that 52. Let's see if I can get a 3 on there. That would be helpful. And I'm going to break this 52 up in half. Let's just do 26 and 26. Still the same thing. We're going to distribute this 3 out. We're going to multiply 26 times 3. So you got to think, 25 times 3 is 75. So an extra 3 is going to get you 78. We're going to add another 26 times 3. That's going to get you 78. And you still get your same answer of 156. You also could use the distributive property when you are breaking up the 52 into its place value. So think of 52 as 50 plus 2. That's like the expanded form. This might be probably the easiest way to solve this mentally. I bet many of you solved it this way. You're going to take this 3. You're still going to distribute it out to both of our addends. So we're going to do 50 times 3. That's 150. Then we're going to do our 2 times 3. That's going to get us 6. Easy, cheesy, lemon squeezy. 156. Another way to do this would be doubling and halving. This is a pretty cool method. Doesn't always work, but when it does, it usually makes things super simple. So we're going to take our 52 times 3, and what we're going to do is we can take one of our factors and we can cut it in half. In this case, 52 is kind of big. Let's bring it down to 26. So you notice that I drew this gray box right here. I'm going to get rid of that. But in order to keep a balanced equation, if I took one of my factors and cut it in half, I've got to take my other factor and double it. So that's where this comes in. So instead of 3, I've now got 6. So I'm going to do 26 times 6. And we can do that same thing. We can say, well, 25 times 6 is 150 because that's 6 quarters. An extra 6 is going to get me 156. Now, another strategy that we can use is the associative property. What the associative property does is it lets us take a number here. So let's take our 52. And you know, 52 only has 4 different factors here. The only way we can break this up by prime factorization, if we wanted to do that, would be a 13 times 4. That's really going to be one of the easiest ways for us to do it there. And so let's take our 13 times 4, and instead of keeping our 13 times 4 together, what we're going to do is we are going to group them slightly differently. That's what the associative property does here, is we take our groups, instead of 13 times 4 together, we're going to shift the parentheses into 4 times 3, because this is the grouping property. You notice I didn't change any factors. I just grouped them differently. So I'm just going to look now basically at 13 groups of 12, because that's what we have here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. Here's my 4 groups of 3. That's going to get me 12. So then the question is I've got 12 all the way down, and it's a total of 13 groups of 12. The reason this little connector's here is simply because I don't have a big enough screen to draw that many groups of 3. So that's all supposed to be in one big column. So 13 groups of 12, well, 12 groups of 12 is 144. An extra group of 12 is going to get you 156. So those are just a few different ways that you can solve 52 times 3. If you can think of another way, that's fantastic. Go ahead and drop that as a comment on the video. Teachers, if you would like a copy of this slide deck for your own use, you can find it on my website, 5minutemath.net.